Howdy howdy, my name is John, and this video is a discussion of the novel A Wizard of Earthsea by Ursula K. Le Guin. This discussion contains spoilers, so proceed at your own risk. I was first exposed to A Wizard of Earthsea in a college course I audited my last semester of college, way back in 1995. Fortunately, I still have my notes from that class, and this video draws heavily from these notes. First, let's talk about the pronunciation of Ged. My professor told us that it is pronounced the same as Jed with a J. I'll provide a link to the description that explains why. However, Le Guin herself pronounced it Ged. I'll provide a couple of links in the description. My notes state that Le Guin coined the term mage to avoid the image of magicians. It turns out that this is not quite true. However, as you can see, the word became much more popular after she used it in the novel. In Jungian psychology, the shadow represents our uncivilized desires and emotions that are incompatible with social standards. Le Guin uses the shadow to represent that which we can't or don't want to admit about ourselves. You must first recognize and accept the shadow. If you don't, you cannot defeat it. One way we avoid recognizing the shadow is projection, accusing others of your faults. We can see this in Ged's rivalry with Jasper. The rivalry is not provoked by Jasper. It is solely Ged's reaction to Jasper's politeness when they first meet. In my opinion, one of the book's weaknesses is the fact that Jasper never earns his staff later in the story. This almost justifies Ged's reaction to him. If you repress the shadow, you create a menace. When Ged attempts to summon the spirit of Elfarin, instead he rips himself into two. His shadow attack scars Ged and kills the Archmage. Le Guin studied Taoism, which teaches that the good and evil parts make up the whole. After he is attacked, Ged is no longer a whole person and is no longer as good of a student. Before, he learns easily. Afterward, he struggles to learn. Something very similar happens to Captain Kirk in the Star Trek episode, The Enemy Within. I'll provide a link in the description below that explores how this trope is used in TV and movies and books. When Ged graduates, he is no longer under the protection of Rogue Island. We see Ged's growing maturity in the fact that he chooses to deal with the problem of his employers before fleeing the shadow. Eventually, Ged returns to Ogion, who teaches Ged that he must pursue the shadow. When Ged does, the shadow flees. Why? Because the shadow knows what the reader only finds out at the end of the novel. The shadow and Ged share the same true name. Vetch joins Ged on the final leg of the hunt to give the reader an objective view of the final conflict. Ged has realized that he must finish what he started and embrace his dark side. When he does so, he becomes a whole person again. This is Ged's final step to becoming a mature man. The following is from the novel. In silence, man and shadow met face to face and stopped. Aloud and clearly, breaking that old silence, Ged spoke the shadow's name, and in the same moment, the shadow spoke without lips or tongue, saying the same word, Ged, and the two voices were one voice. Ged reached out his hands, dropping his staff, and took hold of his shadow, of the black self that reached out to him. Light and darkness met, and joined, and were one. Ged had neither lost nor won, but naming the shadow of his death with his own name, had made himself whole, a man who, knowing his whole true self, cannot be used or possessed by any power other than himself, and whose life, therefore, is lived for life's sake, and never in the service of ruin or pain, or hatred, or the dark. You may not agree with Guin's conclusion, and that's okay. It is still something worth thinking about. So what did you think of A Wizard of Earthsea by Ursula Le Guin? Are there any themes that you found attractive? Did you learn anything from the novel? The comments below are a space where we can discuss this book in full. If you know of any essays you think I should read, leave them in the comments. If there's enough interest, I might do a deep dive into this novel where we can discuss this book even more. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.